Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome back to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. You know the rules. Please stand clear of those discussion doors. The next stop is indeed HS, and it is the return of the Tuesday-ish Club. Here we go. You are indeed listening to the Highbury Squad. It's Super Kevin Campbell and David Hillier in the house tonight. Former Arsenal teammates here to rock your football world. Hello, lads. How's it going? Let me try and get rid of this. Hey, there they are. Bada bing.
Hey, we're there.
We're there.
You give them the finger eight and I'll give them some beatings.
Welcome back to the show. David will be joining us whenever his schedule allows, a couple of times a month this season. So we're very excited about that, aren't we, Super Kev?
Yes, we are definitely looking forward to locking horns with my man.
Yes, indeed.
Will you guys lock horns? Because you agree a lot, and I'm waiting for that moment. I'm waiting for the moment. Did you ever lock horns in training?
No, we don't agree all the time. I think in the last one, even I'm still, on the fence with Oba. I know Kev supports the fact that he makes runs and he went and watched him and assessed him, but I still don't think that he brings anything to the game. So that's a little bit of the smallest bit of beef we've had so far. But we don't agree on everything. On that. I'm going to talk about Balogun today and reinstate what I said last week. He got his chance this week. He got his chance, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he had 5 passes in an hour.
But how much was he fed?
As a player, you've got to work to get yourself in the game. You've got to be able to do that. I mean, I played plenty of games when I only had 5 passes, but I made about 15 tackles. That was the difference. But
you're in the midfield, Dave.
Yeah, I am in there. Yeah.
You're in the midfield where you're in the trenches, so there's a lot of things going on. When you're isolated up front and you're young.
I don't disagree. It's a difficult situation for him, Kev, and it's hard. But what I was saying to Soph was that the only way for him to stay in that team and to get anything is to prove yourself in that team. Other than that, he needs to go away and become
a bit stronger. To go on loan. He needs to go on loan. He needs to learn.
Earn his stripes. Yeah, he needs to learn.
He needs to learn the game.
Okay, hold the mayo a little bit on this one because it was remiss of us, and we're being reminded by Newman here. Good evening, squaddies.
Squaddies. Newman, nice one.
Well done, Newman. He does serve a purpose after all.
Sometimes he does. Well done.
Okay, just swinging back real quick because you've started off a good convo, and thanks to everyone for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you, of course. David, though, I mean, how old is Balogun and how many chances has he had to start in the Premier League? You're just saying, like, in this particular game, and I gave you a hard time in terms of the preseason that you were commentating on, but surely we're going to give him more time and more of a chance, or do you really truly believe he's just not ready? Going out on loan is going to be the answer for him this season.
So I'm not writing him off because he didn't have a great game. Honestly, I was just trying to back up my point from the previous week about how you need to keep improving and showing some reasons why you need to do that extra special thing when you're right up against it. He's in a side that are right up against it, struggling to create anything in the final third. I mean, it was embarrassing at times against Brentford, and then we get turned over a possession, 3 passes, they're getting crosses in and putting the balls in that box. Why are we not doing that? How is that not happening? We need to address that as well. I think tonight maybe we could have a chat about why we're not looking like we're determined enough, why we're not got enough weight about us in that final third.
Well, let's do it because
Balogun's a casualty of that. He's a casualty of that. But 5 passes is still pretty low. So
it's a brilliant point because, today's not about transfers. It's not about that. Having you two on is all about what you just said. Let's get stuck into the why and the how, right? Because when you look at a lot of the debate between fans, you guys, is it the players or is it Arteta? And there's some questions for you on our YouTube channel in the sense that when when they do cross that white line, okay, is it a case of they're trying to execute the formation, the tactics, whatever it is they've been told to do, but at the same time, the tactics don't necessarily fit the players as they stand right now? And I'm not making excuses for the players, and I'm certainly not making excuses for the manager. But is it a bit of both? Because this is the continual thing that that confuses me. And following our post-game Brentford show, David, and I told Kev this, so we've got over 300 comments, and half of them are challenging Kev on Arteta as a manager and his tactics. So let's start with that. Let's start with, you put a player like Balogun in, you put a player like Martinelli in, who everyone's been crying out, you know, shouting out to see. And yet it seems like they're set up to fail. When you guys came into the team, you had seasoned players around you. So once again, are these young players going to be let down by the mature players around them? I don't know where to begin here, but I just threw a lot of stuff at you guys.
But there's not many mature players around them.
But Kev, you were saying that, you know, Aubameyang, even though he's not scoring right now, he's still important to the team. Even though Lacazette isn't scoring, he's still important to the team. But when they're in the team, they've been lackluster. We can't score. We can't create chances.
No, I didn't. No, that's not what I said. We have scored goals in pre-season. Lacazette has scored. Aubameyang hasn't scored 100%. My point was, when your best strikers are in your team, the opposition have to respect them, and that means that the opposition have to plan for them. Because you don't just go out there and think, right, there's Aubameyang and Lacazette, and we don't care about them. You have to plan for them. But Brentford are probably rubbing their hands when there's a novice striker making his debut in Balogun and Martinelli's playing on the left. Perfect. Absolutely brilliant. Balogun's got no experience in the Premier League, and I know he's played in the Europa League. That's one thing. But coming and playing in the Premier League, you've seen seasoned professionals struggle in the Premier League. The fact of the matter is, Sophie, people can talk tactics all they want. Tactics, put them in a ball and put them in the bin. Because at the end of the day, you still have to battle. That's what Brentford done. The first thing you have to do is win your battle. Once you win your battle, then you can go on to win the game. We couldn't even win our battle, so it doesn't matter the tactics.
Dave, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I want to disagree with Kev, obviously, because I want to make the show like a sort of backwards and forwards between me and him, because it's missing. But I can't deny the fact that I don't see any real determination to succeed in the side. There's a determination to play well and to look good and to make the runs and be good when you're on the ball. But it's a different thing when you've got a determination to succeed as a team, you know, the will and the desire as individuals. And you stick, you know, we're talking about Balogun and Martinelli coming in the side and having players to look to. Well, they had Smith Rowe, who was one of the most experienced players on the pitch, along with probably Kieran Tierney and Callum Chambers in the starting 11. They're the players that he was looking to, and there's no disrespect to those players, but they're not going to hold the rest of that team together. It shouldn't fall on their shoulders. So we need some definitely. Why our experienced strikers weren't playing, obviously we'll probably talk about that as well later. But you know, that was a big letdown in that side. So we was set up to foul in that side, and Kev's dead right when he says that when the opposition see that team sheet and thought they might be chasing, you know, a guy around that scored 30 goals 2 seasons ago and won a golden boot, and the likes of Lacazette, who can be so dangerous, and then all of a sudden, no disrespect to the youngsters, but it's Balogun and Martinelli, definitely they'd be rubbing their hands. They're 10 yards further up the pitch before the game starts, right? So they're on the front foot, they're beating you down. That's where you've got to somehow get the strength from somewhere. We look to the manager. Possibly it could be the fact that he's picking players to do things that they can't do in that side without those key players around them.
That was our strongest team.
That was
our strongest team.
Allegedly, Kev. Allegedly, if we're led to believe that people weren't fit and weren't well.
Yeah, no, that's his strongest team that he could pick.
It's a tough call for him, definitely. But I still think even within that, the players have got to die for the cause. They've got to be seen to be dying for it, and I didn't see players dying for it. I don't see players I see players frustrated with how they're playing, and players being careful with how they're playing. Making sure that they don't mess up when they're on the ball. So it's a lot of safe passes. I think, it was really nice to see Lokonga and Xhaka did okay in there. I mean, between them, they had 160 passes, Kevin, with a pass rate of 90%. So did Ben White and Pablo Mari. So that tells me we are controlling that box, right? That defensive box. We're controlling that. It's down to the others to go out and work it and to force and to pressurize and to smash into the opposition. But we didn't have it in us as individuals. We didn't have it in us as a team because it was so disjointed, the closing down. It was ridiculous at times. But we ain't got the weight behind us. We needed Lukaku up front, smashing a few people, mate. That's what we needed.
Hills, don't start me on a big striker. Because the big striker, who everybody turned their noses up, has just gone to Roma.
Tell me about it.
Listen, guys, I wanted to put this comment up from John. We change defenders, nothing changes. We change midfielders, nothing changes. We change strikers, nothing changes. So attitude has to be the problem. But if you change so many players at some point as well, isn't what they're being asked to do, shouldn't that be questioned as well? I mean, why is Xhaka motivated? Why is ESR motivated? Why is Kieran Tierney motivated? I mean, Pablo Mari played badly, but he seemed like he was trying. It didn't seem like he wasn't motivated. Ben White maybe was trying too hard in that Brentford game. But it just seemed like every Brentford player knew their job and they had joy playing, smiling. I mean, of course, they're back in the Premier League after 70 years, but even Newcastle players looked like they were happy playing for Steve Bruce.
That's because these players are genuinely just thankful for playing football at that level, and they're giving it all. And I think there's a comfortability factor in this side with certain players, and not the homegrown ones, I must say. The ones you mentioned, yes, they're the ones that are trying to drive the team forward. The Tierneys, the Sakas, the ESRs, they're trying to push the team forward. There's no doubt about it. But in my mind, there's one or two players that are thinking, do you know what? This boat ain't quite a boat ride I thought it was going to be. I'm just going to sit back, make sure I do enough paddling so that I can stay in the side. But I'm not too worried about where it goes. And I think that's where it falls down. All the other teams, especially Brentford, I mean, coming up, they feel privileged to be in the Premier League. They're playing for their lives at the start of it. And they showed that. When you pull on an Arsenal shirt, you should be playing for that shirt for the following week. So you play your best so that you make sure you can put it on. I think sometimes it's easy for those players to think that they're going to get that shirt the following week. And even if they don't, I don't think they're that bothered, one or two. We've seen it in the past with Kolasinac, classic example, came with all whistles and bells. He was firing when he came. And to me now, he looks like someone who, for the last 2 years, year and a half, has been just, happy to stick on a shirt now and again just to show people he's here, but he's not really that bothered. And that's not the way Arsenal should be. So there's quite a few players like that. And whether Aubameyang and Lacazette are falling into that category now, after all, Lacazette being bombed out a little bit by Arteta and Aubameyang off form, maybe it's easy for them to not fight back. I don't know.
Hills, does it... Kev and I have talked about this. And I don't know. I mean, you guys can tell me. I'm sure it seemed like the way the team you played in, you were very together. I don't know if there were any there were problem children, maybe, drinking too much in the Tuesday club. But generally, as a team, you felt very connected, very together. Is it at all possible, like grown men would be upset that Xhaka was flirting with Roma all summer and talking about how beautiful Rome is and what a great place it is to live? And he's like, flirting with Mourinho on Instagram, and they're liking each other's posts and little notes here and there. Then he comes back in, new contract, obviously to maybe protect the contract for when we want to sell him on, if we sell him on next year. But if we couldn't sell him this year, what makes us think we're going to be able to sell him next year and anyone wants to buy him? But then we up the ante, give him more money and make him the captain. And then Arteta triples down and in public says he's the epitome of what Arsenal Football Club stands for as a player. The guy who told fans to F off and threw his shirt down, which, by the way, I defended him for a very, very long time because he was being abused online. His family was being abused. Is it possible that players like Lacazette and Oba would be peeved at that? Or do you think it's more about their relationship with the manager? And is that even possible for players to be bothered by it?
Well, I mean, we could ask Kev what he thinks about it. I think personally that Lacazette and Oba will be their own men. They won't be worried about what Xhaka goes about and does his business. Xhaka's done a decent job for the club. I ain't going to say he ain't. He's done some things that were a bit shit, but I've come off the pitch many a time slagging off someone in the crowd who was telling me I was rubbish and this, that and the other. I've said the same, but I just didn't say it as publicly. Just because there wasn't cameras and social media around, we all feel, and it hurts all of us when we play bad. And it looks like it bothers Xhaka, so I'm not going to judge him on that. But Oba and Lacazette, I would imagine players of their profile, the contracts they've been involved in and the level they're operating at, they're not going to worry and be peeved about Xhaka this, Xhaka that. They'll be looking after themselves 100%. That's what worries me about the situation. Are they just looking after themselves when really they should be just saying, you know what, I've signed for this club. I should be going balls out every Saturday and putting it in. And, coming off that pitch 10 minutes before the end of the game because I can't run no more. I don't see that. I don't see anyone in that condition. I don't see the manager taking people off because they're absolutely fucked, and they should be, because they're, the situation they're in. Sorry to use the language, but the situation they're in, it needs addressing, and the players need to just die for it for a few weeks.
But
it ain't that hard.
Ills, the question is that tactics has nothing to do with what you've just said.
Absolutely,
people keep
application.
Exactly. People keep telling me about tactics. They think the tactics on a board or sorting out a tactics for a team is it. It is not. The players have to execute it.
Yeah, and they have to execute it
to a high level. And they don't. They can't.
Okay, so why is it they've been unable to execute mostly tactics in the Premier League in the 19 months?
Because they're not good enough
under Arteta.
No, but it's not just under Arteta. They haven't been able to do it. It's not just under Arteta. It's happened under Emery, although Emery got good performances out of them most of the time. And it's happened under Wenger. Let's not put it down to Arteta. This thing has been going on for years.
Okay, so let me put this up from Polymation here. Man management gets the players in the right mindset. Now, I'm not talking motivation. I'm talking...
get the players in the right mindset, right. And then they have to cross the white line.
But do you think, is there a possibility, and I heard from a source, that he might be overloading the players in training? He might be overly coaching, micromanaging. Is it possible, guys? I'll start with you, David. Can there be any truth to that? Because sometimes people say Pep does that, and he's lost very big games because of it.
Yeah, I'm personally. So when I think back to, I've had a few decent managers. Obviously, I had one very, very good manager, but I would say Terry Venables when I was at Portsmouth was a classic. He had the ability to come in on a Thursday, even though you hadn't seen him for 4 weeks because he was only sort of co-managing from time to time the big games with Terry Fenwick. He'd come in and tinker with a few things. You'd notice that when he came in, he had the way of getting everybody's attention. He had something about him that you wanted to listen to. And even if he changed the tactics, he come in one time and we've been playing 4-4-2 for 6 months, and we was playing Leeds in I think the 5th round of the FA Cup, and he said, right, we're playing 5 at the back now. You're going to play there. The right winger's going to play on the left side because of fullback, because I want him to, as wing back, so I want him to cut across the pitch with his pace. He changed it all up. We was like, what? But you know what? For 2 days, he sold it to us. We believed in him. We hung on every word, and we went and got a result from determination, not from his tactics. We made it work. And it's having people like that who can do that, make that turnaround, make you sign up for them, make you get on board straight away, and the ability to keep you on board. And sometimes that comes with, yes, not being too in people, not trying to manage every single little point. Sometimes you've got to let little situations go. You've got to let Martin Keown smash into Ian Wright and have them have a little fight in training before you step in and do anything. You've got to let things go that far, and you've got to let people sort themselves out. And I don't think there's enough of that in that team.
People are just saying that. They don't know. Nobody could say hand on heart that he manages everything, because at the end of the day, whatever he does on the training pitch, nobody can't tell me that the players don't know what to do when they cross that white line. Nobody could tell me that. Because we've been there. I'm not saying you
that they don't know what to do.
I'm not saying you're saying that. What I'm saying is about people in the chat with you these tactics and that is micromanaging and micro coaching.
No, that's bullshit, mate. You're paid
exactly
week out to be a footballer. You're bullshit. You're given. I was paid at my highest, probably, you know, and I'll say it on air, probably about $4.5-5 grand a week, right? And I felt so privileged to be getting that check every month that said 16 grand on it. And if I won a few games, 20 grand. Do you know what that meant, Kev? That meant all that work, mate, was worth it. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. It was the recognition for doing what you did every week. And that made me go out the next week, not so that I could get a better contract, just to reinforce that I was worth what I got the previous month. I was like, thank you for that. I'm going to give you everything this month because this is a great life. It's a fantastic fucking life. And now at 200 grand a week, people should be putting everything on the line. And I'm not seeing that.
And that's why I say, and Ills, and that's why I say, the players, when they cross the line, whether you're on 5 grand, 1 grand, 500 quid, it's the players when they cross the line. But Sophie, one thing I will say, and I've said this many times, and he will probably agree with me again. The buck does stop with the manager 100%. It does. Of course it does. I have said that. And if the manager gets sacked, we still have the same problem.
Okay, this is fascinating, by the way. You're listening to the Tuesday-ish Club with former Arsenal teammates David Hillier and Super Kevin Campbell. There's over 400 of you in live chat right now. You know the rules of the house. There's only one rule, and no matter how low we are in life as Arsenal, if you hate Tottenham, smash that like button. Absolutely smash it to pieces. Take out all of your Arsenal anger and Xhaka getting a new contract, if that's how you feel, and the fact that Bellerin is still there, and the fact that Chambers can't play right back on the like button now. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit more regarding the manager and the players. And is it possible then, because everyone's pointing the finger and saying that Arteta has lost the dressing room, but is it possible that the players aren't aligned with each other? Because we've seen this before, right? The click. We thought the click was gone, Kev and David. We thought it was out in January. And I think the club did a phenomenal job getting rid of them. Unfortunately, it cost us millions and millions and millions of pounds in order to do that. So do you think there's somewhat of a continuation of the Wengerites, and maybe Ober and Laka are a little bit too big for their boots? Maybe there's something going on there. Pepe, maybe. You know, I don't help me understand that, because something isn't right. They don't seem like a team. They don't play like a team. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass here, but if it's not the manager causing a divide, could it be the players among themselves?
So I've said for a long time, and you know, I thought what Arsene Wenger did when he came to the club, unbelievable. Transformed football in a way that Arsenal were no longer looking at videos of Liverpool playing football. You know, people were watching videos of Arsenal saying, we want to play like that. Okay. And then after, when he sort of, you know, I think, was it 2014, 2015, started to lose to sort of slide away a little bit. And it was then people started questioning, you know, had he come to an end? He don't want to change, you know, he's got that way. But that got him there with the players he had and the attitude of the players, not just his football philosophy. And I think once that happened, if anyone tells you anything about Arsene Wenger, he hated confrontation, okay? Stephen Hughes tells me a story when Stephen was out of the side before he got his move to Everton. He got called to go to see the manager, and he was expecting the manager to say, you know, Steve, you've got a year and a half left. I need you to do this. You need to step up there. You need to do this. You need to do that to get in this side. And that's what Steve wanted. Steve wanted some constructive criticism and to have a little bit of a backwards and forwards with a manager. He walked in the door and Arsene Wenger was sat back in his chair, looking a bit sort of worried to talk to Steve, and just said, Steve, it's not really happening for you now. So we've sorted out a move to Everton. And it was like, whoa, you know, it's just like confrontation avoided, players sorted out, nice and comfortable. Now, I think that's how it's become at Arsenal. Players it's been comfortable when they come there. I remember El Neni on his first interview, and I said it to the guys at Arsenal, I can't believe the club put it out. He was saying that, it's so brilliant to come here. The football isn't even a concern for me. I just feel like I've met my family and I feel comfortable. If that was me going to Arsenal, I'd be telling you about how hard I'm going to work, how much arse I'm going to kick, how hard I'm going to run, what I'm going to win for this club, how I'm going to bond with those players. Family? Yeah, you've got one or two family in there, but it ain't about being a family. It's about being a group of, I don't know, assassins, if you like. You go out every week to kill off the other team. Being winners.
It's
together.
About being a winner. You got to be a winner.
There wasn't none of that, though. There wasn't none of that, Kev. It was all comfortable. And you see players seeing out 5-year contracts, sitting in Swiss cottage in the house, chilling it out in the under 23s. Too easy. Absolutely too easy.
It's about winning. Having that badge on your chest, it's about being a winner. I'm fed up of this. People in the chat talking about tactics. Put it in the bin, the tactics. Show me that you want to win on the pitch. Show me that you want to win. I don't see it. Why do you think Kieran Tierney is held in such high esteem? Because he wants to win. He shows that he wants to win.
So why don't these people look at Kieran Tierney and just say, he's not brilliant all the time. He makes his fair share of mistakes, but what he gives us, you uphold, right? You uphold what he gives you.
You appreciate.
You don't even think about his tactical involvement in the game, really. I don't see people undressing his lack of completed crosses into the box. He hits the near post 4 times out of 6. But so what? He does it 18 times a game, so you don't mind because he's working his nuts off. You need players like that.
Okay, so how is it then Thomas Partey is at Atletico Madrid playing in the Champions League, okay, still got his La Liga medal, managed by Diego Simeone, comes to Arsenal. What happens to players when they come to the Arsenal? Is it the slipper mentality? Because a lot of the times, I always say, I'm a Generation Xer. I loved 80s football. I love 90s football. And a lot of the times we say the modern day player just isn't built the same way you guys were built, right? But then you see players fighting at City, fighting at Chelsea, even Manchester United. You could argue what Nuno's done in 6 weeks to motivate a Tottenham team that was on its knees and losing potentially one of their greatest ever players. Somehow he got them to play. So
Yeah, I think so. You got to be. You got to be at the start of this season. We've seen some very, very different refereeing, right, and styles of letting the games go. So I think that's playing into the hands of teams like Tottenham, because if they still had the restrictions of like you can't make, because they made some awful challenges in that game. When I was watching them again, some of the I'm thinking that's definitely a booking last season, but I think that's allowed them to look a little bit tougher. So some teams are looking tougher and looking like they're more committed, because now they can slide into a tackle and it's not a booking. What me and Kev are talking about is not just being committed to a tackle, it's being committed to winning, to winning with each other.
But it's winning. It's David.
I don't see that in the side. Party's coming outside and he can't see it in there. Where he had it with Simone, he could see it in other players' eyes, but he can't see it in the eyes of the other players around him. And it's difficult for the young boys. Xhaka, although he's got dreamy eyes, he's still dreaming about being the best footballer in the world. He don't know how to carry a team, and he needs players around him. Although he did, but he needs players around him. How good would he be if he didn't have to worry about that big fucking carpet he's got on his shoulder, carrying that around?
So then why are we not identifying more? And Sambi, he deserves to be given a chance. Ben White, I think it's very unfair to kind of put a label right now, guys, on those new players. Would you agree with me? You can't say
100%.
Right, you can't say that about those players. So how is it then and let's talk about Arteta's players from previous. So you've got Cedric, you've got Ceballos, Odegaard, you've got Pablo Mari, you've got Runnison, you've got some good buys, some bad buys, you've got some questionable players again. I thought the DNA and the culture of the player we were identifying was evolving and was going to be different. But like Ceballos ended up being a soft touch. Odegaard's a very talented player. It looks like he might end up with us. Kind of, he's good, but is he going to be that player that can play consistently well for 38 games? And not every player can play consistently well for 38 games. But as a fan, I'd like to just start with the basics. Can we be consistent for multiple games in the Premier League? Really good cup team, but where we've fallen short since the end of Wenger's era, even Unai's, Freddie, and now Arteta, we're mentally impotent. And even with new players come in, it feels like that mental impotence rubs off on some of those players. Different for the Highland boys because they're brought through the system and their understanding of the Arsenal is completely different.
Yeah, I think that definitely with the Highland boys, they have got that understanding and, they're there for each other. But when you're in a team of winners that want to really, you're in a tough league and you've got things you want to achieve, goals you want to get, and them goals being the top positions, then you'd need 9 or 10 people doing that. And you can't all come from Hale End. So it is down to the manager to make sure that the mix is right, to keep them up tempo and on point. But individually, you need to keep yourself being a winner. And I see some of these players looking like they don't really seem bothered whether they win or not anymore, because they know at the end of it, excuse me, there's still going to be a financial reward for them. They'll walk away from Arsenal. Lacazette at the moment, if he holds out for another 6 months, he's walking away for Jack.
Yeah, again,
for absolutely Jack, right? And he ain't doing that because he really wants to hurt the club or anything like that. He's doing it because the club have let that situation arise. And they've not supported him in the team by getting the other players and having the right systems around him. And he's not motivated to be a winner there. So why would you want to be a winner there if you ain't got that support around you? That network ain't there. And he has a choice to leave. And it's been made easy for people to leave Arsenal. Just look at Ozil. It was made easy for him. Although everyone wanted it, even the people that liked him, like me, I thought it had to be done. But it's criminal. It's criminal, and it don't breed a good feeling around the place. When me and Kev came into the side, we came into a side that had generations before us have worked their way through from cleaning the boots and cleaning the shit out of the toilets and wrapping up the kit at the end of the day and doing all that. Everybody had walked in everyone else's shoes. But it's easy. It is a bit of the slipper mentality. You're bang on, so bang on with it.
So let's round up the manager convo here, because I do want to move on to Aubameyang, right? And then some questions for you guys. Get your questions ready in a little bit here, you guys, for David and Super Kev, and I'll read some out to you from YouTube as well. Past shows, because the fans bring up some really good points.
They're important, yeah.
You mentioned Terry Venables. And one of the examples I always give is we're a bit comparable to, and I know we don't have anywhere near the talent, guys, right? To Frank Lampard at Chelsea. He had so many talented players, and he just wasn't there yet as a manager to manage that type of squad. Tuchel comes in and wins 2 cups, wins the Champions League, wins the Super Cup. Chelsea champions of Europe again. You talk about Terry Venables just getting into your heads, just having this illuminating personality, right? There's young coaches that can deliver early. I mean, Pep had the support of Barcelona. Antonio Conte was ex-Juventus, went in, did a job, ex-player. Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid. Maybe it's their mentality. Maybe it's the talent pool that they have. Can you not see that maybe even with these players, a different voice would change that? Is that even at all possible? Are we starting from scratch again if we do that?
We've tried the different voice. It's about the players. We keep trying to look for different excuses and reasons. But it's
different. He's got different players since last season. He's brought in his own players. He's got new players. You know, now are we overreacting after one game?
I've been at clubs when there's been a change of manager and the players weren't on board with the manager and it affected the team. Bruce Rioch, you know, happy days. There's one straight off. No one got on with Bruce. He was an absolute dick, and he fell out with most of the players, and therefore he got his just rewards. You know, the team finished 8th or 9th. You know, and 1 or 2 players lost the impetus to be a winner within that side, within playing it. Absolutely. But we're not talking about 1 or 2 players here. That's when we had a squad of 17, 18 and we still finished 8th with 5 players who'd signed off. Do you know what I mean? From even playing for Bruce Rioch, but they're still playing for that. They're still playing for that. Even if they're not playing for the manager. So it don't matter. Once you pull the shirt on, it's got a badge on it that don't say Mikel Arteta on that badge. Do you know what I mean? You've got to put that in there. It says Arsenal. And maybe they're not playing for the club, definitely. And then you've got to question maybe the policy of what players we're getting in. You know, do we go for more homegrown players that newly promoted players who are just happy to be around? Do we drop the wages down and say, no, you're not going to get 50, you're going to get 30, and you've got to play well to get it? I don't know if physically or that's logistically possible now in the way football's gone. Now the wages are at such a ceiling. So we can only be in the market for big players. It's a difficult situation, but it's players.
I have to chime in, because you mentioned about these other managers at other clubs. They have winners there. These clubs have been winning. These players are winners.
Tierney won at Celtic. Oba won with Dortmund. I mean,
hold on. We're talking about them going into a club of winners. A club of winners. Not 1 or 2 players who have won. A team, a squad of winners. Thomas Tuchel can't believe his luck. He gets the sack from PSG, waits a bit, and next minute he goes in at Chelsea. Look at the squad that they've got. They are winners, Sophie. And Arsenal are not. It pains me to say it.
But we've won 4 FA Cups in like 6.5 years. Any team would dream of that.
Sophie. But so what has that done to us? Has that made us consistent?
No, what it's done is it's
allowed... but it hasn't made us consistent, so we're not winners.
Let me answer your question.
But we're not winners, is my point.
Allow me to answer your question. What it's done is it's allowed Wenger, It's allowed Arteta. It's allowed the Adus and the Gazidis and the Raouls of the world to turn around and say to Arsenal fans, we've won the FA Cup. This team can challenge in the Premier League. And it's bullshit. And it's not true. And they've done it in 14, 15, 16, 17, in the 2017 Cup, in the 2020 Cup. Everyone gets so excited. And then we get sold as fans on this concept that this team can then go and challenge the Cities, the Chelseas, and the Liverpools of the world in the Premier League.
Sophie, do you believe that?
Kev,
do you believe the fans believe what they say?
Kev, I'm going to have to chime in because I've got a big issue with not just one thing you said there, Soph, quite a lot of it. In the fact that I'm not a football fan because I want to win trophies and win leagues. I want to see my team be a team of winners. And that don't necessarily mean coming top of the league. It means going out and playing like winners and making my heart race when I watch them, and making me excited to watch them and to go out every week. Yeah, there's going to be bad results. Every fan can accept that. All we're talking about at the moment is this team cannot raise a performance to get everybody excited about. And where is it going to come from? So the winning part of it, and the trophies, and when you're comparing it to Tuchel at Chelsea, yeah, he did walk into a big club. Nuno at Tottenham didn't walk into a team of winners, but he convinced them straight away, just get on board and I'll make you win. And I'll make you win. And they bought into it. And now he finds himself in a team of potential winners.
But we're going to see. It's one game. We're going to see. Let's see.
My point is, I don't even care about... We're nowhere near winning the Premier League. We're nowhere near getting back into the Champions League. I've always said on this show, when someone asked me what is my expectation for the season, I said to just be competitive in the Premier League. Week in, week out. I don't care if you lose with the youth. I don't care if you lose a game. But if you've given your life for the shirt, you have my respect. That was my goal for the season. And then I also said I wouldn't mind winning the League Cup because we haven't done that since you boys were playing, right?
But Arsenal historically have got winners behind them. You look at Hillwood, weren't in it. Peter Hillwood and his son weren't in it to just win the league. They wanted to make Arsenal an iconic football club of winners, the biggest name in the game, and a club that people wanted to come and watch because of the way that they played.
And respect to Hills. And
the badge. And yeah.
I totally get that.
That's what it's about. And we need to have people that know about that in the club. You mentioned them all there with Raul and stuff, and none of them really know that. They're all on it's a business thing. It's a business thing, isn't it, Kev? Do you know what I mean?
It's like, a business thing.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle. Do you know what I mean? And
it's also things though, David, like whiffing on, having the chance to sign N'Golo Kante and signing Xhaka instead. It's about bad decision making. So you end up with players that are the opposite of what you're talking about, and that's why.
But Sophie, that is a brilliant point, right? An absolute brilliant point. Remember, when Xhaka came in, I thought he was a defensive midfielder. But apparently he's not a defensive midfielder. That was under Arsene Wenger. So when you're looking at N'Golo Kante and you're looking at Granit Xhaka, they're actually different players. We've said many times on this show, Sophie, and Hills, we've said this. Arsenal never sorted out their midfield, central midfield, until Thomas Partey came in. But now what that has done, you could see he needs a partner. Granit Xhaka he done okay with him last season. He done pretty well last season in a bad season. But we need more winners.
Is Aubameyang a winner?
Aubameyang is a winner. But does he have the supporting cast? I don't think he does.
See that, and you've got to that point, Sophie, where we're going to have to disagree because, Kev, I don't see a winner in him, right? I see lightweight, I see frightened to put his body on the line. I see a player that's still trying to flick the balls around the corner on his first touch instead of showing strength in himself, because he ain't a small lad. He might be a little bit slim, but I just see all of those things, and he don't make a complete player for me. Yeah. Yes, he can finish. Yes, on the spin, he'd scare the living daylights out of you. But you know what? I always said, but I always said when Arsenal had Giroud, if even at that age, I think I was 43, 44 when he signed. I was like, I reckon I could play against him still. I'd like to see, I'd turn out against Giroud. I wouldn't like to play against Aubameyang, right? Yeah. Because I know that I'd have him in my pocket for 85 minutes. But there'd be 5 of them minutes, I'd be rinsed out of my arse with his pace and wouldn't know what to do, and they could kill me, So he has got that thing that's deadly. I don't disagree, but I don't see the player. With that,
but this is all
I don't see the backing in player. I just don't see it, Kev.
But that's not his game.
Strength. Well, get someone in who does that, so that the other players have got some strength to build off of.
That's exactly my point. What's the point in having a clinical striker or the best gun if you're not going to load it with bullets? We're playing hope. We're playing hope football.
The way Arsenal play, he cannot just be fed goals. He needs to be involved in it. Arsenal need a player there that's involved in the game. If that's the case, they should have never bought just someone who can score goals. They should have bought someone who can back in, feed someone off, and accept that they're going to have to play two up front. Since we lost Ramsey and had that player that run past the forwards, we ain't got no one to do that no more. ESR tries it, but he runs across the face because he's trying to link play. Xhaka cuts in from the side. Pepe, he delivers and then he don't deliver. So we just ain't got no one solid who's dependable up front.
So how is it he was 2 years in a row, he was second top scorer. It was Vardy, Kane and Oba. He played on the left when he scored most of his goals that season, and he also won the FA Cup.
Because no one else scored in the team, so if he scored most of the goals. That's why. Arsenal still didn't finish in the top four. But yeah, he turned up more than he has now.
And he got service, Hills. And he got service.
I think when I watch him still, I watched him against in the pre-season games. He was still getting 5 or 6 touches on the ball, and his pass completion or his retention of the ball was less than 10%, Kev. Less than 1 in 10 he was retaining. You can't do that for
chances, me. And he missed a load of chances, but
I don't care about the chances. That's
a striker's lot. That is a striker's lot.
Forwards miss chances, right? Forwards miss chances, but you got to keep the ball for the team. I would be pissed off if I was playing with you and it kept bouncing off you. I'd be saying, Kev, what is going on, mate? Get your touch sorted out because we're doing all this work and what would you have said? You're right, Ills, because you'd have known it was your game.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you then this. Is it because was he more effective when we played 3 at the back? There is this continual argument with fans about how we won the FA Cup playing. We
had more creative midfielders. We had Mesut Ozil was still involved in some of the games. He was still bouncing around, putting balls in for him. Bellerin was firing. He was a decent wing back at the time. We've kind of lost him. He's gone from being like a 26-year-old to a 38-year-old in 2 seasons because of his injury. And he's never come back from that. I think we've lost that down that side. So yes, there's a service issue that he's not getting now from there, but just his all-round game. He don't look to me like he wants to be there. And he's not the right player for Arsenal at the moment. He's not going to get you out of trouble. You need someone who's going to go in there and get everybody working the right way.
Okay, so everyone start getting in your questions. We've been talking for 50 minutes, you guys.
I don't know where the time goes.
The good news is...
It's been all hills and south.
No, you know what? It's I love sitting back and listening to you two talk, and because Listen, I'm a fan. I'm asking you questions that might sound even stupid, but I don't care because I'm a fan.
There's no stupid questions,
right?
Sophie.
I'm not a tactical genius. You guys have lived and breathed and played this game. And when you talk about cleaning boots, Hilsey and Kev, and the things you had to do to grind and earn the right to wear that shirt. And I know that we can't do that anymore in the modern game. I mean, how many under 23s when you were playing were multi-millionaires? None. Zero.
Only Kev. Kev was the only one. No, Kev had a convertible Golf GTI. Do you remember that, Kev?
That was the GLI. That was my first ever car, mate.
GLI, light blue, cream leather interior.
Powder blue.
Kev was rocking it as a youngster, and that's about as far as it went. The rest of it was back to mum's for some cooked food on a Sunday, wasn't it, Kev? Right. No, there weren't no glamorous days back then.
Come on, this is glamorous. This is total glamour right here.
Yeah, but you know what, Soph? That's because we win. Look at the trophy. That's because we win. Do you know what I mean? That's what the winners do. You enjoy the good times because you've put the work in and you've won.
But we was lucky, Kev. We grew up from winning. We grew up from winning in the youth team. We had the manager of the youth team had the right mentality. Pat Rice, he was Arsenal through and through. He knew what it meant. There wasn't none of Arsenal's spirit lost over those years we was there by not having Arsenal people there. And unfortunately, the game has become such that they're not all Arsenal people there now. They've all got different motives and different reasons for being there. Even the ground staff, half of them are the same, but half of them ain't. And you can tell the ones who ain't from a mile off.
I'll tell you, Soph, there's something I want to say really about what the point Hills just made. Mm-hmm. So if I'm under Arsene Wenger, we couldn't be consistent. Under Unai Emery, we couldn't be consistent in the league. And now under Mikel Arteta, we can't be consistent. What does that tell you? What does it tell you? There's one common denominator, Soph.
The players?
It's players. Hold on. It's players. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. And I know player power, as you always tell me, football's different now. The players are different, and they are. Our problem is when we had the great sides, player power was all together going in one direction. If someone was trying to go the opposite way, you get left behind because everybody's moving in that direction. The fans knew, the club knew, everybody's moving in the right direction. Now we got this crew going over there. We got this lot disjointed over there. We got this lot now not really listening to the manager. It's all over the place. And you know what, Sophie? And David will tell you this. George Graham done it his way, but we still had a voice. There was quite a few mornings there was in the medical room where we were in there having our team meetings. Because this is what winners do. You still have to check, you still have to talk, you still have to get things off your chest, and then you go out and you train. Because why? Because you want to win. I don't think this squad of players are all together to win for the Arsenal. That's why I say it's the players. Because if they were, I would see it.
That's a phenomenal point because, okay, I'll give an analogy, right? You know I like my analogies, guys. The cast of Friends knew they were onto something in that first season where the show became a phenom, right? And there was rumors that they wanted to pay Jennifer Aniston the most money and that she was going to be like the real superstar. And she ended up being the superstar. But because they knew that they had landed the roles of their lifetime that would change their lives, they became a collective cast, just like Seinfeld, and they all went in and negotiated together and said, you're going to pay us all $1 million an episode when they renegotiated their contracts after the third season. But they had the plan all along that when they were going to renegotiate, they would do it as a group and a team. And I'm not saying that could even happen in football today, but my goodness, Wouldn't that be great? Like a little bit of the Bilbao way, to have players like on the same wage. I know that's not possible, but what you're saying is not what modern football is about. There's cliques, there's groups, there's snidey remarks, there's players wanting the manager out, there's the manager picking his favorites. And I just wish that it could be a little bit more like that, but it isn't, you know. But I just wanted to.
So do you think Brentford last season were all like smiling with each other after every game and happy with each other and like going out for a party? Hold on, oh, some music coming in the background there. Going out for a party or all of that. Do you think it was that all the time? No, they would have had arguments, discussions with each other. They would have addressed things in the dressing room. But what they would have done is they'd have done it for a reason, because they're all winners and they're going to listen to each other. They're going to take it on board. They might not agree with it. They might not even like that player, but they know they're going to go out and turn out with him for 90 minutes on a Saturday, work with him every day and do the best they can to make his game the best his game is. And that's what winners have in them. They put everything aside for the greater good. Now, I don't think the greater good here, being Arsenal, is really considered as it should be in the equation now when players come to this club. I think it's a club to go to if you don't make one of the big clubs. And I think it's, like you said, slipper mentality. Absolutely.
Okay,
it's easy for players.
That's hard to take.
It is.
That is hard to take.
Especially when you've got ESR and Xhaka, who you know have gone what you've gone through, and they want to play that game, and it's affecting them. Yeah. But it comes from the filtration of the Arsenal blood all the way from the top down. It's been filtered all the way down. You ain't got the Hillwoods there anymore. You know, even I saw David Miles is leaving now, or he's retired from scenes and that now, and all of those things, Ken Fry, all those little icons of the club, the keystones of the club, are not there no more. And you know what happens when you take out a keystone out of any arch? What happens? It starts to fall.
Yeah, weakens, man. It's gone.
You know,
right.
I'm going to start putting up some questions for you guys as well. But real quick, it's the DNA and the culture. What you guys built as a team is gone. What Wenger built early on is gone. You know, look at City. They've changed their DNA and culture. They've elevated it, but they were nobodies. I mean, we talked to Sean Gota and had him on the show, Kev, when he was talking about being in Division 2. Yeah. You know, Man United got relegated with Dennis, not with Dennis Law, their player relegated them when he went to see. I mean, every giant, right, gets slayed at some point, but it's how you rise again. And these other teams have risen again. And I really hope that we can too. I want to put this question up from Lee. With all these young players coming in, including Ramsdale, do you think Arteta has been given years, not months, to enact a transitional plan whereby these new players come into their prime together? And a little bit what I'm talking about in terms of the evolution of the DNA and culture, maybe. But what do you think about Lee's question?
Hills, do you want to go?
Well, I can't see that any manager will be given years in the modern game to imprint your DNA on a side and, you know, bring up the kind of players you've wanted. Well, it's obvious what kind of team Mikel's trying to get. He wants young, enthusiastic. He wants predominantly English if he can. He's tried with the Spanish, but it just ain't worked. You said Ceballos, and for me, Pablo Mari is just like a stretched out version of Danny Ceballos. He does a good job, but he's not going to set the world on fire, and he ain't going to, you know. So I think, yes, the English players, we're moving down that route, young, but we ain't going to get them all. You know, if we didn't get Grealish, stick Maddison in the side, maybe that would work. Then we need to find two proper English strikers.
Need a proper right back.
You can't change the club
keeper,
DNA.
Need a big striker.
Yeah, it's not.
You know, there's a lot of work to be done.
You can't change it with one or two players. It's not going to be changed with one or two. It's got coming all the way through.
We need our best players fit. We need our best players fit and in the team.
Listen,
Gabriel, Partey. We need them fit and ready.
If Gabriel plays, Partey plays at his best, if Oba and Lacazette, one of them could just play at a level where they play like a proper forward and bring something to the side, we're not far away. But it's just maintaining that. And I can't see they've got the minerals. I can't see they've got what it takes to do that.
So a general question from a lot of listeners, you guys, that's come in is, have we then, because there was no Thomas Partey, there was no Gabriel, there was no Oba, there was no Laka, do you think we've completely overreacted to losing to Brentford, Kev?
No.
You,
No. I think everybody realizes we were weakened 100%. And I think the frustration on Friday, Soph, with a lot of people saying, Kev, stop saying excuses. I'm telling the truth of what it is. We don't have a attacking prowess. Players are missing. Of course, it weakens any team. We're not a club that has players who could just plug straight in and be as consistent. We're not that team. But what we expected, Sophie, was for the team to put up more of a fight than they did. And it's the way we got beat as well. Long throws and all this stuff that we should be dealing with a cigar on. But no, we get caught by the sucker punch and we end up losing the game, making them look better than they actually are, if I'm honest with you.
Here's an interesting one for you. I want to put as many as I can up. We're 1 hour in and it's going to be Sophie time a little. Dave's had his tea though today, you guys, so we might get him for an extra few minutes here. South London's finest. I wanted to throw this one up there because of you guys, coming through the ranks at the Arsenal. South London's finest. Looking at our youth players now and during your time, would the likes of Xhaka and ESR be anything special coming through the system back then? It's hard to look in the rearview mirror, but it's an interesting question.
Well, it would be interesting, Hills, wouldn't it? Because the game was a lot more physical. You can get away with more. But I think I rate these boys really highly. I'd love to think they would have come through. Because at the time, the club was a hotbed of young players coming through. And
I think they definitely come through, Kev. They got the talent, the physicality of a good young player. They would have definitely come through. It's difficult, isn't it? We played on terrible pitches for most of the season after September. It was so. Yeah. I'm not making excuses, but we couldn't play
even
the kind
Sophie
of football.
Scored Highbury. Sophie put a penalty away at Highbury at the end of the season.
We couldn't play the kind of football that you dreamed about playing, or even the kind of football that our training ground was 10 times better than any pitch we ever played on after September. Honestly,
wow.
It was lovely to go back to London Colney on a Monday morning after playing at Leeds on a Saturday, because you played on a flat pitch with grass on it and trained on it. But these kids definitely, they definitely be good players now and get in. But it's all about the heart, desire, and they show that. So there's no reason why they wouldn't have got in the side. But I tell you what, there's no way George Graham would have signed some of the players that I saw turn out against Brentford, and certainly, they wouldn't be in the starting team the following week. It's just, it wasn't a great performance, and it doesn't stop there, does it? Because this Sunday, we've got a little bit of a tough game coming up.
Teeny tiny.
There's nowhere to hide for these players as well. That's the thing.
No.
Some of these lads will be thinking, do you know what? After last week, I could just do with a week of, maybe sort of low key. But oh no, it's Chelsea the following week.
All right, 645 of you in live chat. Hit that like button, please. Kev, I'm going to read one of the ones of some people calling you deluded. And I know you like these. Okay, this is from Shritik Kathari on YouTube. This is the first time I enjoy listening to this channel. Surprise, surprise, Kevin is just as clueless and deluded as ever. See you again in a few. Oh, he said it's the first time he's visited in a few months that you're deluded and as clueless as ever. Hopefully, Kev's less deluded when I come back in a few months. What do you say to fans who think you're deluded? Another one here. Here goes Arteta's lawyer again. Another one here that says, it's the players, now it's injuries. Arteta's lawyer strikes again. That's from Robert Jones. Arsenal Queen says, I'm disappointed in KC continuously backing Arteta. Kevin Campbell boils my blood, says Azra. Who
else?
else?
I don't get this. Has Kev been backing Arteta? Kev ain't said nothing about Arteta, about backing him.
No, this was after Brentford.
After Brentford. I promised them. I promised them that I would.
Game. Yeah, this was after the game.
I promised them that I would ask him these questions, and he's willing to. I'm
willing to deal with it. But one thing I don't understand, Sophie, is nobody's explained why I'm deluded. Have you noticed that?
I think it's because they're scared we're going to do this.
No, but here's the thing. If they say I'm deluded, what am I deluded about?
About not seeing that, in their eyes, Arteta's a clueless manager.
Yes, right.
But you're defending him.
Right. But I'm not defending him. Because like I always say, the buck stops with the manager, but I look at the players that go on that pitch. Whether they agree with it or not, hey, listen. If they want to call me deluded, call me deluded. But the bottom line is the players that go on that pitch are the ones who play and perform. It's that simple, whether they like it or not. And the fact of the matter is, we are not good enough. We are not good enough to physically even compete with Brentford. They don't like it, but it's the truth.
And you know what? So those who say you're deluded, they get a yellow card. All right? They've all got a yellow card tonight, all of them, because you're not deluded. You've played the game. We may agree or disagree about Arteta, but saying you're deluded is completely whatever. And there, I broke the necks. But there's plenty more, Kevin. I'll read them out to you as well when we do our YouTube comment show.
Yeah. I think I've got to say so. I think that's a bit harsh because, like Kev said, there's no real reason for it. But these people have to understand that lots of people play football. Lots of people play football to a really good level, right? But when it starts getting that crunch levels, and you've got to cut the mustard, there's got to be something about you is so consistent. And that is you as a player, your pride in how you play and how you commit to the game and how you give everything every game and how you work towards that. And when you sign for somebody, you're signing for that reason that you're going to give them everything. And I've been at clubs when I've switched off and, I don't feel like I'm earning my money anymore. And it was unfair on the club, probably unfair on the fans as well. And I think that's the situation maybe we've got to. And the fact that the players ain't good enough. In some positions, we're just not good enough, whether we compete to the highest level or not. But the only thing you can guarantee as a professional footballer, and that word professional, you're not just a footballer, it's not just a game in the park or, from our fans see it, you are a professional. And you should have that integrity in yourself and in your game that you give everything for your employer week in, week out. And Arsenal are not getting that from their players, regardless of what formation is put in, of what system is played, of whether he plays 2 up front, 1 up front. I still want to see the guy up front dying for it, absolutely dying for it. And then
it doesn't matter which manager has been there.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. And this is the point. They could call me deluded if they want. But I have seen the same performances under Wenger. Don't forget, we were getting blown out in the first half, game over under Arsene Wenger. Unai Emery, I've seen it happen under him. And I'm seeing poor performances under Mikel Arteta. So I'm the deluded one.
Yeah, it's poor performances. It's not them not doing what the manager's saying. It's them actually performing poor. Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, by the way. I don't know if you saw Harry's comment, Kev, but yes, he said he's maybe we'll start a deluded FC, and
Hey, listen. Here's the great thing, and Harry, thanks for that message, by the way. I loved it. People could say what they like about lawyers and all that. I liked Arsene Wenger. I backed Arsene Wenger when a lot of people were calling for him. At the end, when it was time for him to go and he didn't go, I then said, hey, listen, Arsene Wenger, it's time for you to go because you're not actually doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Unai Emery. But the dressing room and those players got him the sack. Let's have it right. Now Mikel Arteta's in and the performances are going down. Sack Arteta if you want, but does it change it?
Kev, you look at that you just mentioned there, Unai Emery, right? When he came in, he was the most committed manager. How animated he was on the sideline. You remember him for the last 2 months?
He was subdued.
Totally different. And that's what I'm seeing in some of these players. That's what I'm seeing. I want to see the player that Emery that was there in the beginning, but I'm seeing the one who's not so bothered. And that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. And that is where, if anything, the manager, the coaching staff, people have got to step in and try and reinstate that belief and give the players the support they need. But at the end of the day, you're a pro. You go into the game yourself, you're individuals. Me and Kev stood on the white line against each other, against many people, knowing that I had to beat someone in a race to get myself to the next level. And we just did that week in, week out. Kept getting on the line, standing on the line when players would drop by the wayside. And I'm seeing players at Arsenal not standing by the fucking line, not going out there and
not
doing
putting the work in. And not putting the work in.
Why don't the club bring players like you in instead of yes men?
Because I'm 52 and can't fucking run, so.
No, I'm not talking about playing, Hilsey. Although a lot of people in chat are saying you two need to lace your boots up again. But anyway, we'll leave that one. I wanted to ask you guys real quick.
No, don't leave that one, Sophie. This is a really important question.
Okay, because I don't want to I always... Yes. Answer the question, why? Why hasn't Tony Adams been... Listen, Tony Adams isn't a great manager maybe, but he could be a really good coach with the defense. Why Perez is a fantastic player. Freddie was lovely, but it just feels like they're all... I don't know that why was Wenger afraid of that? Maybe he could have built more of a foundation for it. Like, why aren't people like you involved? Why?
Because we might tell the truth.
And people thinking that you're on the payroll, Kev. It's just a joke.
We tell the truth. Look, the bottom line is for me, in my eyes and what I know, I could only speak for myself. Hills will speak for himself. From what I see, I know what makes Arsenal tick. And there's no hiding place. I would call players out. I was never allowed to take things easy. Days off under Pat Rice to start with. That's what got us going. So if I see something not right, I'm going to want to address it. Apparently, under Arsene Wenger, that wasn't allowed. So, therefore, it's okay when you've got your Patrick Vieira, told you you've got that back five. You've got all the players that they've got. Because you know what? One thing that makes a difference when Arsene Wenger brought in all those players to start with. One, they were so hungry to prove themselves, Sophie. And two, they had physicality about them. Not only were they talented players, they could put their foot in. Vieira, Petit in the central midfield, they were strong, tough. We had pace and guile on the wings. We had quality up front. And don't get me wrong, Bergkamp was a wonderful footballer, but Bergkamp will cut you in two as well. Okay. Make no mistake about that, Sophie.
Oh, he had the dirty in that one.
Listen, he had that vicious streak in him. But that's what's needed. Where is those streaks now? All of a sudden, you move forward and people look at, it's the tactics, Bullshit. Is it the tactics? It's the players. And I keep saying it and people keep calling me deluded. So do you know what? I'm going to keep being deluded and we're going to keep staying in this position. So whether they sack Mikel Arteta or not, watch this space. Because...
So Kev, while you're still deluded, I'm going to come in on that because in answer to the original question, so why am I not there now? Because I couldn't put up with all that shit. I couldn't. The same with Kev. I couldn't tell people how, not how it was. Not that they weren't doing things right in the game. I know that even from the youth team up, Arsene Wenger kept a lid on all of that. You could complain as a trainee to your parents that get in touch with the club, and then the coach would get reprimanded for just telling you that you had a shit game and you need to pull your fucking finger out. Players don't want to be talked to like that. So there was that mentality of a little bit mollycoddling and a little bit of, there's always going to be a cushion underneath you when you fall mentality. And sometimes you need to fall on your ass or on your elbow and get up quick and, and brush yourself down. You can't keep having that safety net. And I think that's how it has become there. So that's why I wouldn't be part of the club. To change it, you'd have to. Tony Adams couldn't go back in and manage at any level at that club. He's not technical enough for them top players. He can't deal with them. He might think he can. He needs to work with the kids. He needs to get them back working with the youngsters, with the 14-year-olds, with the 12-year-olds, getting in their heads. Yeah,
getting in their heads.
Getting in their heads from an early age about how it's going to be. This pre-season, do you know what? It's going to be exactly the same as next pre-season, and then exactly the same as the next one. It's about consistency and all of that. It's been too easy for players to map their own careers as well. And I always was a belief that the manager picks the side. You don't pick whether you're going to be in the team, where you want to be in a year's time, where you want to be in 2 years' time. Really, it's down to the club you're playing at. You just do your best for what shirt you've got on. And when you've got an Arsenal shirt on, it does mean a lot more. And I say these players are mollycoddled. I don't think it happens at other clubs. I think other clubs are a bit more old school. I know they are. I know Reece Weston is involved at not coaching level, but he is involved at a commercial level at Brentford. And he says they're old school. They fire the fucks into each other in training. They call each other out on pretty close issues, like gender issues and on all the old comments that we used to make to each other to wind each other up about their mums. He said that all goes on. They're all still at it. They're all still playing the game, rough and tough.
But
and look what's happened to
camaraderie.
Them. They're a group of winners.
So can I ask you this then? Why then get rid of a Guendouzi who had shithousery written all over him? He makes one mistake.
No, Sophie,
he was more worried about his hair. I'm not having
at least hold on 1 second. So as a fan, I'm telling you that at least he showed some shithousery in a team that's full of pussies, as you've said. Right?
But he showed narcissism. He showed so much narcissism for and that's how he played his game. Like he loved himself. He would argue about things that he had no right to argue about because he wasn't good enough to even trap that ball. And so because he got fouled and he got found out in the end, he had a great attitude. I ain't knocking that. I'm not knocking his work rate. But in the end, he became a victim of his own success that he thought he was having.
But how many players have you seen that start off like Greenwood had some issues off the pitch, and it seems like Solskjaer has been able to bring him around, and he's a very, very, very talented player. Ole said that he became a man over the summer. Why did we just ostracize him? Why isn't he sat down and said, "Listen, you little shithead"? I mean, do you know what I mean? You guys are talking about not having players like that, and we had a player like that who's also talented, and we let him go.
But he did do that, Sophie. He done that last summer, and he didn't want to know. Toe the line, young man. Toe the line. It's a clean slate.
But other than Brighton, when did he misbehave the
NFL
tackle?
That summer, remember? So the Brighton thing happened, and he wasn't involved. Then we got to that summer, and everyone had a clean slate. Guendouzi weren't having it.
But
that's why he ended up going on loan.
Look at Ryan's comment, Kev. He
I know that.
Why has he's been given a new contract and made captain? Why? Why do we do that then?
Yeah, because we can't get anybody in, Soph. That's why. That's where we're at. We cannot get every target in the central midfield that we've gone for Who have we got?
Then what about the Saliba? Why wasn't he given a chance then? Why has Saliba been ostracised?
No, Saliba hasn't been ostracised. Saliba was told. Well, that's your opinion, but he hasn't been ostracised. He wants to go back. The football club, right, own him. So they wanted him to play on loan in the Premier League so they could monitor him. What happened? He wanted to go back to France. He's had trauma. That's allowed. That's fine. But if you want to make it at Arsenal Football Club, an Arsenal Football Club said to you, go on loan in the Premier League, and then we'll see. You go on loan in the Premier League. But he didn't want to.
What about your old teammate Merson, you guys? He was a bit of a problem child, but he wasn't sent away and kicked out. I mean, eventually he was sold, but...
He went on loan.
I just think there's a double standard sometimes.
No, but you're talking about Merson as a first-team player. It's different.
No, but Guendouzi was a first-team player.
No, but he wasn't in the end because he got dumped out. And he was a young player.
I think, Kev, Arteta has, I wouldn't say by his own admission, but he certainly has not tried to change the fact that he's quite reactive when players have issues, like tantrums and stuff like that. He doesn't want to stand for that. He wants to kind of police it. And I think that was kind of his basis of being a disciplinarian. I think he's probably got that wrong. Just if someone's naughty, you don't have to smack them with a stick to make them react. There's other ways of doing it. And I think the way he's cut people out probably has annoyed them. I mean, not just, we was talking last week, wasn't we, about certain younger players maybe not featuring. Joe Willock being one of another player who possibly rubs the manager up the wrong way from an attitude point of view. I think sometimes as a manager, you should nurture those attitudes. So maybe if you'd have nurtured Guendouzi's attitude, he wouldn't have got such a prima donna. And I think that's where I fell out with him, regardless of what the club, why they fell out with him. I didn't like the fact that he started to love himself too much. He went from being a player that was just tidy, he'd win the ball, play a simple pass, to all of a sudden thinking that he's some creator. It don't just happen like that. You get where you are because of what you're good at, and be thankful for that. But I do think there's a little bit of the managers striving to find an identity in being some sort of disciplinarian when he ain't really got it yet. And it's a natural thing. Going back to the Venables thing, I mean, I'm sure Kev would have had it. Was it Walter Smith signed you, Kev, at Everton?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like when you met him? Was it like just meeting a football legend?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant to meet him. Obviously, someone he's done incredibly well in football. But one thing you knew straight away, these guys ain't going to sign you unless you've got discipline. Somebody put down there about respect. I think it was Dimitri put down about, Kev, Arteta wants respect and respect is earned. He wouldn't respect him. Here's the big problem with that. You know where respect comes from? It comes from you. You've got to respect yourself first. And if you are not doing it, if you have to earn the manager's respect. How does the manager have to prove to you he's the manager? No, respect isn't, because he's the manager. If Dave or I would have thrown a tantrum with George Graham, how long would we have been out of the squad for, Dave?
Well, I don't know I don't know when I'd have got back. I'd have got back in it when he needed me, but that'd have been about it. But the thing was, he didn't even have to. It
wasn't in us.
Words. We
would never do that because we were too committed to win.
Unbelievable stuff here tonight on the Highbury Squad, the Tuesday-ish club with these two former Arsenal teammates, players who wore the badge, fought for their lives when they wore it. Just loving this conversation. I wish it could go on forever. So I've got two more questions and then we're out. We're giving you a radio-style show tonight, an hour and a half here I might get told off by Hilsey when we get off on air, but I think I might get away with it tonight. Okay, 2 questions. The last one I'll leave is a little bit of fun, and if I don't ask it, the chat room will explode. So, protests on Friday. I want to ask you both: is there a point to the protests? Do they help? Will they help this team? Will they help Arteta? Kroenke's not going anywhere. I mean, he owns the Rams. I'm actually going to a game tonight where the LA Galaxy are playing his Colorado Rapids. And I hope LA Galaxy win, of course. Mm-hmm. The Denver Nuggets improved for sure. The Colorado Avalanche were pretty good this year here in the States. Arsenal seem to be the problem child now, whereas really it was the football team before or the hockey team. But he's definitely won, here in the US with some of his franchises. What do you think fans are going to achieve on the ground, around the world, with the protest? David, I'll start with you. Are you in or out on the protest angle?
I'm very much, everybody needs to say and speak their feelings and get it out there in the open. Definitely. I think so. Yes, it in a nutshell, yes. However, I'm not convinced that majority make decisions in general. As far as any march or protest goes, I believe that powerful individuals have bigger impacts than thousands of people that stand outside any place and protest. It would only take 2 people at Arsenal to put things right, yet 10,000 people outside can't make a difference. That's kind of my point.
Kev, real quick, I want your answer too, because some people think, just like the Man United Liverpool game, getting it cancelled. But in the end, the Glazers are still there. The Liverpool owners are still there. The game was rescheduled and went ahead. Do you think boycotting and not going to the game, it seems like we're struggling to sell tickets for the Chelsea game. Who does that hurt in the end? The employees at Arsenal, who are clinging on to their jobs by a thread these days anyway, the players? What's your take on it?
No, I think it helps it helps the fan base, Sophie. The fan base need a voice. And I'm all for the protest because they don't like what they're seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing. You don't like what we're seeing. Now, we know that upstairs, they are not forwards. They're going backwards. They're not coming forwards to see what's going on and to make a difference. They're going backwards. So the fans feel so frustrated that they feel like they need to protest. I'm all for protest. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Will it change anything, Sophie? Probably not. But as a fan base, you need to say what you've got to say. And if it's a protest that needs to happen, so be it. 100%. But You're talking about owners who ain't even here. The owners are very wealthy, and you don't get to that position by, whenever the pressure's on, buckling. It never works that way.
Sounds like the Odegaard deal is happening and Ornstein is announcing that now. We will talk about that on tomorrow's show and the rest of the week if that is the case. I'll get you out on this final question then. He posted it 100 times and everyone told him to just be quiet and that eventually I'd get to it. You can only imagine who it's from, but it is a bit of a fun one as well. If I can find it, Newman, you posted it 100 times and now I can't find it. His question was, when you're on the bench and you're watching your team play, do you secretly want someone to have a shit game so you can get on?
No chance. No chance. Never.
I thought that would be the answer.
No.
Yeah, never. And do you know what, Sophie? This is the reason why the winning mentality comes in, because I'm always thinking about, whenever I was on the bench, I was always thinking, if I get on, how can I affect the game? That's
I was thinking the same. And I'd always say you've got an opportunity on Friday. If you want to take that player out in training take him out on Friday morning if you want to play Saturday, and then you can get in the team. Otherwise, accept that you're on the bench and hope that the manager brings you on later, like Kev said. And you'd have like set pieces going through your head. I would only come in on 1 or 2 positions. I'd be looking at, how's he getting on in his position? Is Paul Davis getting some joy on that side? What's he doing well? I'd be watching him, trying to see what happened if I was going to come on.
Brilliant stuff, you guys. Absolutely terrific. What a show. You guys have been spoiled tonight. An hour and a half of pure joy. The Tuesday-ish Club will be coming to you bi-weekly here. You'll get the best intel from players that have been and been there and done it, as I said before. So, Mr. Hilsey, thank you so much for joining the squad this evening. I do have to mention this real quick. Go to footballprizes.co.uk. The auction is on Thursday night, 7:30. It's a signed shirt by Sol Campbell. Courtesy of our good friends at Football Prizes. I'll be giving a free ticket away on tomorrow's show. Joining us on tomorrow's show will be Jess from She Knows Arsenal. So we look forward to hearing from Jess tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to leave it to Kev. Dave, what do you want to say on your way out? Anything else? Or are you good? You good to go? Put your slippers on. Put your slippers on now.
I've got your little... not slippers, like little fair trainers now. Supporting the club still. Listen, I'm just looking forward to. I'll be working the game Sunday, so just everybody who's going to be there representing Arsenal, just get behind the side. They need everything, every bit of help at the weekend, on the socials and everything as well. Just get 100% behind the team, and let's hope that they turn out 100% each player and do the business. That's all I'd like to say.
All right, cool. I'll hand it over. Delta, I promise we'll talk about Ian Selly. We may even get Ian on one of these shows with the lads. So I promise that we'll have him maybe on the next time too. Kev, take us out.
Well, me old mate has set me up again, ain't he? Hills through ball through to Camden, and us put it away in the net. Listen, I've got to say thank you, everybody, for leaving all your comments. The YouTube guys, the good, medium, and the bad ones. They're all welcome here on the Highbury Squad. We always deal with it. So deluded Kev is going to take us out, right? With squaddies, we love you. Make sure you hit that like button. I hope you tell people about this show particularly, because there's a lot of Arsenal fans who could really do with watching this and what it really means to be at the Arsenal. Because you know what? That badge and that club means everything to us. And the reason why I say it's the players is because I don't see the players putting in the work to get better. And yeah, Arteta could get sacked. Of course he could. But we've had 3 managers now, 4 managers who, if you add Freddie in there, and they're still not performing. So listen, squaddies, thank you so much for joining us. And you know what I'll say next, squaddies? At ease. See you Thursday. Sophie will see you tomorrow.